Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Ask a Lawyer. As you're aware, you can go into AskDivorce.com, click on Ask a Lawyer icon, and submit your questions, and we will review them on our weekly podcast. Today, we're fortunate to have with us an attorney with our office here in the St. Louis, Missouri, Heather Biaggi.
Hi.
Heather, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, all.
Thanks for joining us. And we've actually got a pretty packed show today. We've got several questions on Ask a Lawyer, so we're just going to kind of really just jump right to it and cut to the chase here. The first question comes from George out of Texas, and the category here is child support maintenance, which I'm sure you can relate to through your practice.
Most certainly.
And in this question, he's wanting to know if there's anything that he can do to prevent his ex-wife from paying on the medical coverage. And so my initial take on this, because it really wasn't in detail, is what actually is involved in the order. It states that he was ordered to pay for medical coverage when he was divorced, and since he's remarried, he has coverage for himself and his son through his new wife's work. Is there anything that his ex-wife can do to prevent this? I mean, without seeing the order, it would be hard to answer, but I would think, just through experience, depending upon what the order states, that as long as he's current on the health insurance and provides it, I don't think that, the ex-wife can come back and file the motion to modify that.
Yeah, most certainly. I think that here, ex-wife probably only cares that the health insurance is being paid and probably doesn't care what provider is doing that, whether that be new wife, dad, whomever. In most states, or at least in the state of Missouri, if new wife is providing health insurance, by way of being married to dad and paying it for the child, so long as her health insurance is okay with carrying the child, I haven't seen any judges say, that's not acceptable. So long as health insurance is being carried on the child pursuant to the order, and again, we don't have it in front of us, there usually isn't an issue whatsoever. I don't think she'd be successful if she tried to file any kind of motion, and I think it'd probably be a waste of her time and money. I realize sometimes ex-wives are a little bit spiteful of new wives or vice versa. Not passing any judgment there. However, I don't think when it comes to a benefit for a child, so long as the benefit's being provided, I don't think there's an issue with regard to, and I don't think she has any cause of action with regard to the health insurance and the dad not living up to his obligation to keep health insurance on the child.
Now, this wasn't mentioned as part of the question, but taking it a step further, now what if ex-wife's health insurance provides better coverage or has better benefits? Then you may be in a position to do a consent modification, or she may file the motion to modify. But again, as Heather mentioned, to have standing with the court, she's going to want to, there has to be some type of, for the modification, the court order, a substantial continuing change, and whether or not, coverage would rise to that level, I'm not sure. As in the state of Missouri, I haven't really come across too many cases where either parent has filed a motion to modify based upon one health insurance having better coverage over the other. Have you?
No, and I think that some people wrap that up in a case where there's other modifiable instances. I don't think somebody's just going to bring a case just because they have what they consider better health insurance coverage. Furthermore, if in fact mom does have better health insurance coverage, this isn't the best advice, but provided that is the case, there are things besides doing a consent modification, which is the absolute best way to do it, so you've memorialized it in a court order, but there are things you can do with regard to agreement between the parties. Always words of caution. It's not court enforceable. The other thing, too, is I would put everything in writing so that everybody, you have a memorialization of your agreement. Again, not the best avenue. The best avenue is always court and a court order. But I'm sure that, there are parties out there that work those things out together and think, hey, let's not waste money on attorneys. Let's just get this figured out. Really, all we care about is health insurance for the child.
We're going to move on to our next question here. It's dealing with rules and procedures, which is something that we encounter every day in our practice. And this particular question states that it's for a friend of theirs, and their friend's divorce was, I take it, was finalized on October 8th, 2008 this year, and the arrangement that he remains in the basement. And this question states that apparently there's been some problems while dad remains in the basement and mom remains upstairs with the children. Apparently there's a lot of yelling and fighting going on, and mom is calling dad at work at least 5 times a day. Now, without having the court order or the decree in front of us to determine whether or not it actually was a dissolution that was finalized, just looking at the question on its face, it doesn't appear as if a court would order two people who have been divorced to reside in the same house together. So what my first advice would be is to get a copy of your friend's decree, if it is a decree, and determine whether or not that's exactly what the order states. It may be some type of temporary order, but even so, two people who are seeking judicial intervention to dissolve their partnership together, a court would not order the two people to stay in an exact same house together. So I'd be kind of cautious as to what exactly the wording of this order states. So what I would suggest after reviewing the court order, and let's hypothesize here and state that it's a temporary order, that neither party is to remain in the same house together. It's probably more of a temporary order that one party should move out. So I would think that if there is some type of hostility or aggression going on in the household, that one of the parties needs to move out, whether it be mom or whether it be dad. But I definitely don't think that both parties should remain in the exact same household together.
I will say this question is very, very unique. It does look like the person who posed the question is from Georgia. So again, speaking of Missouri law and what Missouri courts or St. Louis area courts normally do, the way this question is phrased is it says that basically dad is to remain in the basement and mom is to remain upstairs until the son turns 18 or he graduates from high school, which will be this June. So clearly there's not a lot of time we're dealing with here. However, I guess what I would say is, again, it's highly unlikely a court would order this, but if that is in fact the case, if you're dealing with an 18-year-old child, you know, not that parties should not continue to converse and not that they don't need to make, depending upon what kind of legal custody they have with regard to the child. However, the child being 18, it's not like you have to talk to mom in order to talk to son. He's old enough that you can communicate directly with him. So if in fact you're residing with someone who you are divorced from and, you know, it's a temporary thing but something that's put in place, you know, my first advice would be, if you can afford it at all, move out. I don't think anybody's going to call you on a motion for contempt for moving out of the house. Now, I'm assuming if this was in fact a final order, it's due to the finances of the party, and I'm assuming one party or both parties can't afford to live on their own. The other suggestions I would have, again, the person that posed the question said that mom's calling dad at least 5 times a day, kind of ruling his life, without any assumptions here. My best advice would be, and I give this advice to a lot of my clients, is if you're communicating about a small child, clearly you have to keep the lines of communication open. However, if you are divorced from somebody, there is no reason you have to take their call. You for sure know their cell phone number or with caller ID and whatnot. If you're dealing with an 18-year-old child, based on the specific facts of this case, there is no reason to take a phone call 5 times a day from your ex-wife. Don't pick up the phone, don't let her harass you. You can speak, you can probably presume that she's not calling you to say, hey, our 18-year-old son, got sent home from school today. I'm sure the 18-year-old is perfectly capable of communicating directly with his father and or mother. The other thing I would say is if you can't afford to move out and your court order really does say this, potentially without ruining the house or making it less saleable at the point where you will sell it, partition the house off. Put ground rules. Hey, you're going to stay up here. I'm going to stay down here. We're not going to mess with one another. I don't think those are out of the realm of possibility. I know in Missouri, or at least in all the divorce paperwork that we provide, we do put in, and I think the court is assuming this, that once you are divorced, you are going to live separate and apart, and you maintain the fact that you will not harass or interfere with someone's life after you are divorced. And I think this is exactly what's happening. Now, whether that language is implicitly in your divorce decree, if in fact you have one, or it's explicitly in there, I think that that's something that no court would penalize you against if you're not taking your ex-wife's calls 5 times a day when you're not dealing with small children in the house. Dan, what are your thoughts?
Well, you raise an interesting point, especially with caller ID and the fact that if it was an emergency, a voicemail would be left. You can turn your phone off or you can not answer the call as you suggest and check voicemail. If it truly is an emergency or you think it rises to the level of an emergency, then you can call back. There's always text messages and emails available as well. Now, let's presume that this is really that the court order states that mom and dad have to reside in the same house together. I think that this is a recipe for disaster when you're, even though you have an 18-year-old son, you're still looking out for the best interest of the child, and you don't want the child to see mom and dad constantly arguing and fighting. That's what caused the two parties to seek for court help.